Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another AFL Fantasy Fanatics pre-lockout chat ahead of round 5. I'm your host, Bails, and you can find me at Bails DT on across the socials. Joining me, as always, is my co-host, Tim, mate. How are you?
Bails, I'm good, mate.
Mate, now Mitch messages in a group chat. Just want to check if you're okay.
You're right, mate?
Yeah, are you okay?
Oh, me?
Yeah.
Because I don't have bloody...
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, it was hard to watch. I tell you that. Watching Gordy smash it out. Absolutely amazing. No, I thought you were talking about... you were listening to Ball Boys, were you, mate?
Oh, yes, yeah. Mitch told me I suck, and just hopefully just going to shove it back in his face by getting a win in the Content Creators Cup.
How many? Where's Mitch at the moment? How many games has he won out? How many has he lost?
He's 3-1, so big
really?
game.
What are you, mate? What are you?
Just 4-0, mate. So
4-0.
Ticking along quite nicely.
Ooh, so it's a big matchup this week. Big matchup.
Yeah, no, it's better to be in these sort of matchups and actually be winning games compared to last year where I was like 0-3 or 1-4 or something like that. So hopefully we can.
Have you scoped out the matchup?
Yeah, I have actually. So for people that are concerned with my matchup against Mitch from Ball Boys, I've only got a few different. So by the sounds of his trades, he's going. Because the thing that's annoying is you can't actually look at the updated matchups. It still says he's got Roberts, Heaney, and Jordan. So at the moment, I believe we're going to have 5 players different. So he's going to have Jordan Clark, Zach Butters, Matt Crouch, and Blake Hauser 68, and Seth Campbell. And then I've got Massimo, Zach Williams, Bonner, and then one of Reed or Wilson, whichever one he doesn't play. So it's going to be close. I've got a feeling I might actually lose this one. To be fair,
yeah,
I feel that Clark, Butters, and Crouch are safer than what I'm probably relying on Massimo and Bonner to just sort of have games like what they've. Well, Bonner, like what he's had the last couple of weeks, and then Massimo, like he had the first 2 weeks. It's going to be that probably ain't going to happen.
I wouldn't feel too confident with the Moss.
Yeah, no, I'm not too confident. But maybe if the Bont can pump out a big score, I can Port Adelaide tough up as goes well. We'll see how we go. But actually, well, just because we're talking about that now, we'll quickly go through the matchups for this week in round 5. So we've got Warney is up against Harmy from the Pod. Jeppa is up against Stato from the Pod as well. Luke from the Ball Boys is up against Rids from the coaches panel. Nathan from Hat Chat is up against Holmesy, who I see is tuning in now, mate. So g'day to Holmesy as well. Also, Rids is tuning in as well. So g'day to those couple boys. If any of you guys want to jump on for a chat, feel free. Darren Carr as well was Osh Pods, who got to meet last weekend, which is great. So, mate, if you want to jump on for a chat as well, then feel free. We got Louis from the Pods up against Jake from Hat Chat, who's on a high after winning his first game last week. He's pumped and looking for wins. He is up against Sanch from Hat Chat. Calvin is up against you, Tim. And he's got a decent start with Gorney. But, mate, hopefully you can have a good captain in Nick Martin tonight and go well. We'll talk about that in a sec as well. Mitch is up against, obviously, myself. Minnie Muff from the coach panel is up against Hef from the Keeper League. And MJ from the coach panel was up against DC from Hat Chat. So some good matchups there this week, mate. But quickly just move over to your team, mate. So what are you looking at doing your trades this week?
So Christian Salem down to Sam Clohisi. Thank God for that, eh? Although, I mean, the reality is I should have traded him out last week. But yeah, I tried something that didn't work out. And then, look, James Jordan, like everyone's getting off. But, look, I'm weighing a few things up. I mean, so I guess one of my first thoughts was go straight up to the Bont. But then I'm also trying to, plan out my next couple of weeks as well. So if I go for someone like Butters, I mean, I can't believe I can get Butters for basically only $1,000 more than what his starting price was. I feel like that's a steal. I feel like I've made money. And then that will leave me, I think, about $150,000 in the bank, which means I will be able to do like a Zach Williams and Massimo trade next week up to a day cost, which I'm quite excited about.
Yeah, cool. And I've just realised on the bloody Twitter space, I didn't actually click join space. So we've started the first 5 minutes without any audio. So that's fantastic. So let me just quickly do the start listening there.
What?
Here we go. No, so obviously streaming on YouTube. I've actually got to join by listening to the Twitter space, which I did not do. So I'll just quickly do apologies for no audio. Just chatted about the Content Creators Cup. There we go.
Thanks.
So just quickly, Tim, just for the people that did miss on YouTube, what were your trades as well?
Salem to Clohesy and Jordan to Butters.
Yeah, cool. With 150 odd K in the bank. So yeah, apologies YouTube for the 5-minute delay. I forgot to join the Twitter space. We're all good. We're back on track now. So my trades this week, I'm doing the two most traded out plays, the two most traded in. So Blake Howes down to Closey, and then I'm going James Jordan up to Sam Flanders, and I still have 295K in the bank. So I'm really sort of preparing for round 7 or before round 7, upgrading a Massimo or a Zach Williams, or potentially both if I can get enough cash up to a midfield primo. That's sort of been in the back of my mind for a couple of weeks now. So that's the plan that we're looking at.
Bales, just before you move on, 68
Yep.
from Blake Howes. How do you feel about that, considering you traded him out?
I'm not too fussed, to be honest. I think it had a lot to do with the fact that Salem went down, unfortunately, really early as well. So yeah, for me, I'm happy enough. I traded. I get Closey in, and I'll look at potentially Will Graham last week. But so I think the question probably comes down to, with that 68, if you're looping that on, are you looping the 68 onto your field, or are you taking that on with the 68, thinking that it could be in your sort of maybe 6 or 7 lowest
So
scores?
this was actually going to be my next question, was then does that mean you've got like a Zach Reed or on the bench there, one of those dead red dots kind of thing?
I've got Reed, but he's locked out tonight, so I can't actually loop on close.
Yeah. But what I mean is, what I'm asking is, because I'm trying to get a bit of a sense of what people's benches are, right? And I think that probably most people's benches are similar to yours, which is where they've got a Blake Howes and a Zach Reed, and now trading down a Blake Howes to a Clohesy. But then again, I guess what that leaves is a dead red dot essentially sitting there with no cash being made, right?
Yeah.
So that's one of the things I'm just trying to watch, right? I'm trying to watch, where I can get a little edge up on the competition. And I think, because I've got, I think still got Blake Howes there, and he's not going to make much more cash, but he might get that cash gen going again. That could be a little leg up.
Yeah, no, it's definitely a good point. I'm potentially, because I've got that extra cash to bank, I'm not even looking at a double downgrade next week and fixing up a Zach Reed to a Will Graham. I know I'll have to spend a little bit of cash to do that, but that's something I'm looking at doing, just to, as you said, keep that cash gen going, because my cash gen's going okay. And I think actually from what I looked at as well, just quickly out of the people in the Content Creators Cup, I believe that me and you are actually two of the top couple in terms of team value. So you've actually so Nathan's got the most, then it's you, then it's then me, because I've just added my 295K. So it's actually, so we're 2 of the 3. So sort of we've both sort of tried to keep that cash gen flowing, which I think everyone has tried to do. But I think a few coaches have just been maybe got a couple of injuries. Like for those, I was talking to a few guys last week. Imagine those coaches that went who also got injured in round 1? Defender got injured in round 1. Went to Zach Reed to a Caulfield and then to a Marty Moore. Like they've just used these trades, and it's just unfortunate because you're doing the right move, but it just hasn't quite come off for people that've done that. So, it's a good point. And I think for those coaches that did hold Blake Howes, I think you're pretty happy that he goes up a tiny bit in cash. His break even might go back down a slight bit to maybe a 40, 45, and he might be able to keep going, especially if Salem's out now for a few. So obviously got the bye next week, but it could be a play where he might make an extra 40, 50K based on what he said. Is that where you're looking at leaning out as well? So
look, and once again, I don't think it's going to be a huge amount, right? It's not a game changer, but it's little bits here and little bits there. Like I've got a pretty healthy bench. Although some of those rooks are starting to top out, but or get up there anyway. So I'm just trying to think about that team value. I'm trying to think about the upgrade cadence. I'm trying to think about a couple of weeks ahead, planning my trades. You don't want to be. Mitch was talking about it right on the Ball Boys, right? Like his ideal trade, he was 2K short, which Lucky he was able to find another way to get to Flanders. But, some weeks you're not able to do that. And if you're 2K short, then it can really, really upset that upgrade cycle,
Yeah, I was about to mention that, but I think you mean unfortunately he's found another way to get to Flanders. I think that.
Yeah, sure.
But yeah, so we'll captains and vice captains, mate.
Yep.
So obviously for all those people out there, don't please. I hope no one's going to ask, do I take Gawn's vice captain? Because we won't be answering.
Mate, people will be asking now, particularly because you said it. But but everyone knows the answer.
Who are you? But who are you looking at? Obviously, as you said, you don't have a Maxi Gawn. So who are you looking at with your captain?
Yeah, I wonder if watching Maxi go 149 has. I wonder if that impacts my decision making. But I'm going to throw the VC on a Nick Martin against the Dogs. I think there's a bit of a chance there that he could go. I mean, although that role hasn't been as juicy for. That Nick Martin's playing against the Dogs, but I don't know, we can see, right? Those players can certainly go big in those games. And then Lockie Whitfield, I think, will be my captain. Manica, I'm a bit worried about just because we don't have as much data down there, but yeah, I think he could have a shot to go out of the pull one out of the bag.
Yeah. Just stuttering away there. Just a question for you, mate. So you obviously with Gawn going big last night. Has that?
Yeah, I think it has.
Maybe
you're
thinking of you going
because I've also got a Jack Steele,
getting
right?
him instead of a Butters.
No, I don't think it's changed my thinking with regards to the trades. My trades. I think it's changed my thinking with regards to the captain. I'm pretty disciplined with my trades. I'm thinking. Even Dacos, when I bring him in next week, he hasn't got the best of matchups, but. If I've got an opportunity to bring in Dacos off his bye, just like I brought in Sam Flanders off his bye, like this was my kind of plan, and I'm trying to play a straight bat, stick to my plan, that kind of stuff. So, but yeah, when it comes to captains, I mean, I probably feel like Jack Steele is maybe a little bit of a safer pick, but at the same time, he's kind of only been putting up maybe 120s, and and Nick Martin could throw maybe a 130, 140 up there. He's done that before once already this year. And, we know. I mean, Lockie Whitfield hasn't really put up ceiling scores, which I'm a little bit worried about. And he's also one of those players that, you have watched before and he's just not going anywhere near the ball and could really hurt you. So, it's not the safest to watch, but it's early in the season. It's best 18. Maxi put up a 149. I feel like I've got to try and claw some back.
Well, if you look at the defence against St Kilda, like you look at a couple of weeks ago with Nick Martin, he went 140 odd against St Kilda. So if Whitfield can do, I know it's under the roof at Marvel, but I think Whitfield, we know he's got a ceiling, so that's obviously a good play, and I think he could put up a good score. So I think Mitch said that if it wasn't for Gawn, he was going into Lockie Whitfield captain this week. And look,
here's the other reason. Basically, because they're the two highest players on Jaden's projections. And I've now, for a couple of years, I've pretty much trusted those projections. He is not far wrong. Like
I think Tim dropped his phone.
I'm back. I dropped my phone.
Wait. Here he is. He's back.
So, so year on year, Jaden scores pretty well above the average in terms of captains. So I typically stick with his projections.
Yeah. Well, yeah. So, plenty of good options this week. I think there's this week for captains, there's probably 3 or 4 options that people really like, but then I think there are a lot of tough ones. Like you've got Shizu on the Sunday.
Not a great matchup.
I wouldn't be shocked. And I wouldn't be shocked if they pay him some sort of attention as well. You've got Jordan Dawson, I think, against Carlton. I think George Hewitt's going to go to him there. I know Mitch said his spicy take. He said that the Crows get a win and Laird moves back to half back and dominates. So I wouldn't mind that, to be honest. Get Lairdy as a defender this year and have him as a top sort of 3 or 4 defender there. But we'll have to see if that happens. They kept burying the side, and we're not going to go on a rant here. Otherwise, this could be an hour-long podcast about the Crows. But just on the note of Roy Laird, if anyone is in Adelaide next week on Wednesday night, there is a live show with the traders at the Arcabar. So if you're in Adelaide, head along there. I'll be there. I know Jake from Hatshot will be there. I'm sure a few of the other boys as well. Maybe like a Louis or a Doss or someone will be there as well. So make sure you guys head on stand. Roy Laird, special guest. So you better believe I'm getting a picture with the great man.
So if there's ever going to be any master beating going on, it'll definitely be that night.
We'll keep doubling down there. But yeah, no, that will be profile picture across all the socials. But yeah, if you guys are tuning in over on YouTube or on the Twitter space, send through your questions. We'll be answering a heap of those for the next 45 minutes or so that we're going to be going for. So send those through and we'll answer those. And just seen Jeff as well as just tuned in, mate. If you wanted to jump on for a chat with us, mate, then feel free. Mate. Is he? Oh, there you go. Well, Jeff's at work. So, but no, good day, Jeff. So let's answer some questions here. So the first one we'll go to is from Mr. the Jet. He says, is it too late for Tom Powell? Will he be a top 6 forward? What are your thoughts?
I don't think it's too late for him. What's his break even? 46. He's looking pretty good. Although, I mean, look, here's a bit of a concern last week.
Under 700.
What was it? 15 tackles, but there wasn't much else in his game, was it?
No. I think I actually probably see that a little bit more as a positive in a way. It shows that he might not be giving us those 40s and 50s as in years past, and he can still scrap his way to a decent score. And it was at Norwood, so that's probably my only flag. And LDU was also on track for a pretty poor score until a late save again. So I'm $690. Are you still happy to pay that for Tom Powell? He's still under 700.
So what's he priced at? Oh, jeez.
That would be what, just under 75, I think.
Oh, I mean, I'd still be happy to jump on.
I think so too. And there is a chance he is a top 6 forward because he's looked pretty good with just the lack of options we've got back there. Emily says, hey guys, low on cash. So who would you choose to go James Jordan to? Jason Horne-Francis, George Hewitt, Jake Saligo, or Riley Bonner have already got Flanders, thanks. So if you were getting any of those options, I don't know if I'm sold on any of those. I don't know what your thoughts are on a Horne-Francis, Hewitt, Saligo, or Bonner.
I think I'd cross Hewitt off. Although, I think he plays a bit too defensive. It's interesting to see what happens with Sam Walsh going back into the side this week. But, I mean, I obviously think we can just sit back and watch that.
Is it too late for Bonner?
Yes.
6.59.
Yeah, I think it is now. Look, I mean...
He's got Giants this week. Tough matchup.
Yeah. Look, I'm just not so certain about his role. I mean, what was it last week that he had that game with really high turnovers?
The week before, against
and
the
what
Bombers,
I was a little bit worried about was, initially Ross Lyon was backing him in, had, particularly made comments regarding Bonner and backing him in, and then the following week he was making comments not really backing him in. So it kind of had me be less confident about his jobs. Well, his role in that team anyway. I think he's past now where you want to get on.
Yeah, so Horne-Francis or Saligo. I don't actually mind the Saligo pick, to be fair. He's actually giving the Crows something in the midfield. He's looking quite good. I know he turned the ball over a few times last week, but he's 572k the break in a 43 off a 102. I don't know about you. I probably want to watch another week from Saligo before jumping on, just to see if this role is real. And I'm still a bit concerned that Crows can just switch anything up at any point. I'm a bit more
concerned about, is this really the time of the year that you want to be jumping on mid prices?
Yeah, I think even Mitch is saying as well. I think you're looking at your upgrades now. You're looking at sort of going one down, one up, and so is this a point where instead of getting one of these mid prices, would you just double downgrade because it's the best 18 to then make an upgrade next week? That's probably what I'm leaning.
But I don't really like that option either. I mean,
no, I don't either.
I mean, look, I think we've heard a lot of pretty good coaches talk about the fact that potentially you could be double downgrading this week. I don't really like the idea, but I mean, who knows what your team looks like, right? But maybe there's other moves that you could be making. I mean, with best 18, are there mid prices like a Zach Williams or a Massimo that you could actually be jumping off early? Well, I wouldn't call jumping off Massimo necessarily early, but it's best 18 this week. You don't necessarily be having to field 22 players. So, maybe there's some aggressive moves that you can make, and rather than effectively sideways or going nowhere, you could be moving someone up to, into an upgrade.
Yeah, I think that, I don't normally like doing a double downgrade either. I think just in Emily's position, if she doesn't have any other way to go up to someone, I think instead of settling for a a middle of the pack sort of mid pricer, I'd do the double downgrades, then do that upgrade next week. But she also asked as well, looping between Zach Williams and Closey, what would your line be to take Zach Williams' score? So what are you looking for from him to play him over Closey?
Well, let's talk about Closey. Well, what do you think he's going to score? I mean, his VFL numbers are not great, or not as great as what he scored last week. Do you think it was one out of the bag, or do you think that's what we should be expecting from him?
Well, the role looked great last week. I know I do hear a bit about the VFL numbers and that aren't great, but we did see even a Nick Martin never had a game over 25 touched in the waffle, but all of a sudden's come in and just got the role. So it could be a situation where the role in the Gold Coast AFL team is just better suited for scoring than what in the VFL is. So I think he can repeat it. Whether he's not going to get 95 out of it, but I think he can go sort of anywhere from 70 around that mark most weeks. But I think in best 18, you're trying to chase those bigger scores. And if you get because Zach Williams plays first, if you get an 80 plus from him, if you're looking like your lower score let's say you've got 10 to 15 players already played by the Saturday night, and you've got only 2 scores below 100, then you could probably take the 80 on. Whereas I think if you've got a few of those lower scores already in your side, I think you bank like an 80. So for me, I think my line would be 80. I don't know where you're sitting with that, but I think if Williams goes 80 plus, I'd be taking that score over Closey. Whereas if he goes 70 or lower, I'd probably play Closey instead.
Sure. I could subscribe to that.
Yeah, it's just where I'm leaning to at the moment. Well, Berkey said here, would you take Howe's 68 over Closey? I'm probably taking the 68 on, if I'm being honest, but I don't know about you.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I think 68 is going to be in the bottom 4 scores anyway. So unless again, Closey, depending on your loophole, Berkey, if you can wait for the loop and see how the rest of your team's going. But if it is as at Reed tonight, for example, then you've got to make that play. I'm leaning towards taking it on. And yeah, we've got a lot of people asking that question as well. Corey Blackledge, thoughts on Marshall and Closey for Jordan and Grundy? So Grundy to Marshall and Jordan to Closey. Is it worth round 7 to get Gorn for Sherry as they gone bad? So as the first part, so you liking those moves, Jordan and Grundy to Closey and Marshall?
Marshall's got a really good run the next 4 weeks as well.
We mentioned the flag on Sunday night. Are you concerned with the Campbell sort of flag there? I think we did hear this a lot last year.
Yeah, sure. I think, I'm sure you're concerned, right? But I think these are the calls you got to make, right? We don't know that anything's going to come of it. We've seen it before. I don't think it's enough to change that kind of trade. If that trade is sitting there and you can do that trade, I think you just have to take it and let the cards fall how they do. If it doesn't work out for you, then you wouldn't begrudge a person for making that move.
Yep, 100% agree with that. And then the second part, he said, is it worth in round 7 going Sherry to Gorn? I think again, Corey, you're probably just assessing that in round 7. If you've got no bullets, I guess you could theoretically do that, but that is a couple of weeks away. We've got DPPs that week. Who knows sort of what our teams are going to look like at that point with these DPPs. So I'd just reassess that one in a couple of weeks. Since you've been gone, John asks, as a pod, would you go Lukosius with his new role or Caldwell with the Bombers midfield injury? So obviously the Bombers got a few missing there and Lukosius got that role, but they do have a few of those games up at Darwin coming up soon. Are you looking at either of those guys?
No. And I hate questions like this. I think they're so hard to give an opinion on. And they're also players I don't know a huge amount about. I'd be concerned with Lukosius's price, especially with the defensive options we've got.
He's a
forward. That's right. Hang on.
Yeah.
But he's priced pretty high though, isn't he?
I think he's only like 600k, like 606 or something.
There you go. Doesn't this up?
610 break even of 66. So he's not going to get away from him. Then even a Caldwell is at 666 with a break in of 60. So I think both you can watch for another week.
That's really useful for their question.
yeah. I know. I know it's hard, but
we could just say we don't know.
If I've got to pick one, with the Bombers' injuries, I think Caldwell could be a bit of a smoky pick. We've seen him do it before in the past when there's been injuries into the midfield, but you're sort of going in a little bit blind, not knowing the role. And I guess best 18, you could take the punt, but then on the other side, if you get stuck with him, it is the forward line. But yeah, maybe with that. But I do like the coaches as well. I'm just worried about those games up at Darwin coming up soon as well. What if Matt's saying here? Hard being excited about round 5, not owning or VCing Gordon, trying to stay strong and not panic trade to catch up. Yeah, no, sorry, mate.
Man, I tell you, that was a bad call. Not going Gorney, eh? I mean, I went Grundy and Cherry, so it's not like I it's not absolutely killing me or anything like that. But yeah, watching Gorney has been tough.
Yeah, he was very, very big last night. We've got Draft Monster. With all these injured Tigers, how's McAuliffe not in everyone's team? I think just, mate, because he's not a priority with the rookies. Closey's the priority. I think Will Graham's probably next on the list, but Kane McAuliffe is. I think he's basement still 200k break
exactly
25.
Right.
He just get another week to watch him and see how he goes. If he puts up a big score next week, then hey, we're all going to jump on him next week. So. Yeah, that's probably more just the reason for us not jumping on him yet. Obviously, we just talked about Caldwell there. Tom Gulliver was asking that one there. Anthony, Grundy to Marshall or fix red dots. Burgess to Graham or Comben. Getting Marshall means I keep Burgess. So are you prioritising points on field or are you getting your red dots or does this depend on how many red dots Anthony's
walk me through
got?
this one again. This is worthwhile thinking about, right? So go through it again. Because you
So Grundy to Marshall. Yeah, so he's either going Grundy to Marshall and getting points on field and keeping Burgess as a red dot, or he's fixing a red dot and going to a Will Graham or Comben, which I'm in the Will Graham camp out of those two.
So he's not upgrading anything
more. No, he'd be getting Closey. He'd be getting Closey. I'm assuming in the other trade. So it just depends.
Look at these. Yeah, this is where I think there's merit, so to speak, right? Like I'm not trading out Grundy this week. Now I've got, I was going out Salem, so I think still I'm happy with that trade out, right? But I'm also quite happy to hold Grundy. I don't think I have to get rid of him. I'm going to have him on field. I've got Luke Jackson as well, so I'll bring him back on obviously next week. Put Jackson back into the forward line. When Gorn's out, I feel like at least I'm going to get next week where I get, points on field and I get a week up on Gorn owners kind of thing. But look, there are going to need to be some moves made in that ruck line pretty soon. Whether it's, I think maybe in a couple of weeks' time, I could probably wait until I get off Grundy. But we've also got, I'm also thinking that, English maybe quite hasn't bottomed out just yet in his price. So there's kind of a little bit of watch and wait going on there as well. And, of course, Luke Jackson with Sean Darcy coming back in. But also we've got, when they're playing the Eagles the following week, I don't think Jackson will necessarily be such a bad player to still have in my side.
Yeah, exactly. It is a tough one, though. DT Enthusiast, Bolton instead of Taranto, low break even with no Taranto. So what are your thoughts on a shy Bolton?
I've got to buy in a week.
Yeah, I'd be watching. Because then I guess you can watch him and Baker and you can see who is the better forward to grab.
You don't have to touch him this week.
The buy. Yeah, agreed. Andrew's got this question. What do you think about Lloyd Meek as an option in the ruck? So playing solo ruck for the Hawks lately. So I'll just get up his price and score. So he's 591k. He's got a 92 and an 89 in his 2 games he's played this year. Breaking in a 40. What are your thoughts on him if you couldn't get up to another option?
Look, doesn't look too bad. What's he priced at? 591. Jesus, what's that? It's like 60 something. Mate. I think it's worth looking at. I mean, I don't know. I haven't really. It's not one I've considered at all before. So, but what do you really think the Meek's going to average in a year? What's he averaged before?
I guess he hasn't had that role, like the solo ruck role, for in a team. So I guess you're probably just going based on he's got the the better role, and you're sort of hoping that he can sort of take it to that next level. I guess that's probably what you're looking at there.
You can tell it's that kind of really in-between week with the trades. I mean, just look at the questions that we're getting. Like some really kind of like left of centre players coming up, but, some really good shouts.
Yeah, exactly. Hang on. And the bloody computer's going nuts. Anyway, we'll continue on with the questions. Nozza says, Massimo and Jordan to Closey and Flanders, or Grundy and Jordan to Marshall and Closey. So it comes down to you going Grundy to Marshall or Massimo to Flanders.
I think I like the Massimo to Flanders.
Yep, I'm exactly the same. I'd be going in for that one as well. Paul, who to field in the forward line out of Cadman, Gallagher, Campbell and Thomas?
You'd think Campbell up against the Eagles would probably have a pretty good shout, right, as a forward. Gallagher.
Okay. Hopefully you can loot Gallagher tonight. That would be good if you've got like a Heaney or a or someone on buying.
Who was the other option?
Cadman and Thomas. I wouldn't be trusting Thomas.
Yeah, how many do you need on field? 2 or 3?
No, just I'm assuming just one.
Oh, okay.
I guess. So I guess you'd loop Gallagher in Campbell. I think Campbell's the option though against West Coast. What do we got? Crinny Winnie whispers that Sam Sanders is the sub tonight. I did sort of see something like that on the socials. I think Warney actually said on the Ball Boys live show that it sounds like
Warney
O'Donnell is going to be the sub. Yeah, Warney. Yeah,
oh, in the chat.
Yeah, Warney for the DT talk. Yeah, in the chat. Yeah, was saying on their pod. Yeah, it looks like he'll be the sub.
Wow.
So, but yeah, I guess something to keep an eye on. Obviously, we are an hour and 5 minutes away from the game kicking off. So we'll have to see how that goes there. What do we got? Thoughts on Libba VC into Marshall? Captain says Chili. So what are your thoughts on a bit of a Libba as a cheeky VC?
Once again, we were talking about Libba and the Ball Boys, weren't they, about how we pay him no respect. Once again, I haven't really paid much attention. I mean, it's not normally someone I'd go into Essendon. Haven't they been a bit restrictive?
No, Essendon have given a point.
He went 132 against Geelong last week, so maybe that's what they're looking at.
Yeah, I don't mind it, especially if you don't have, if you've got Nick Martin, I'd be going Nick Martin first. That's what I'd be doing. But if you don't have that, I don't mind. Libba is a bit of a cheeky VC. He can put up a big score every now and again. Just saying, we've still had bloody issues with the bloody YouTube thing. Apparently, internet connection hasn't been great tonight, so apologies to everyone there. West Coast Eagle said, who should I get for Jordan? Only got 750K in the bank. So he's looking at Gov, Horn-Francis, Lukosius are the 3 options he's looking at. So I'm assuming that's Jeremy McGovern he's talking about. What are your thoughts on Jeremy McGovern as an Eagles fan? He's looked pretty good.
Yeah, he has. Yeah, he has. I mean, he's normally a pretty good draft player for the defensive line. I can understand why people would be looking at him. He's normally punches out a 90 average or something along those lines, and probably could do some pretty big numbers back there with the Eagles the way that we're going. But I probably think. What do you think of Jason Horn-Francis, Bales?
He's a tough one. I don't know. I'm still nervous because you're probably relying on him to be getting forward status, and I'm not sure that he's going to get there. I think he's on 30%. So you're really relying on him to get that. I think he's a guy that could pop out a 50 or a 60 at any point. So I'm not really looking at him. But I don't know. What are you? I don't know if you agree with that. You're thinking the same thing.
I'm concerned about his time on ground. His time on ground's always pretty low. He's a little bit more of an impact player than that kind of accumulator. But I just know that a few people have been looking at him this week. But once again, it's kind of that mid-price. But what do you do? What do you do? I'm just trying to picture where people might be, such as that's where. But once again, wouldn't most people probably have like a Zach Williams or a Massimo? Like, what about a Jordan and a Williams? Surely that gets them somewhere better than a 750 player. I'm just not sure that you need you want to be bringing in these mid-price players.
Yeah, because if you start bringing in a couple and then they start all failing,
you're in all sorts of trouble.
Sort of stuck with all of them. Yeah. Like even myself that I brought in Massimo, I had Zach Williams there, didn't think it was much of an issue, but now all of a sudden they're both issues that I'm going to have to deal with. And I think it's probably bailed out in a way that we're going to get DPPs in round 7. But if you're doing it in other lines and you've got Williams and you've got if you bring in a forward or if you bring in a Horn Francis or whatever, and then you get stuck with 3, 4, 5 players, that's where your sort of season can start. You just get behind the 8 ball, because when these people are getting upgrades and they're upgrading to your Bonts and your Flanders and your Whitfields and Dacos and all these guys that were other coaches looking at bringing in. So, yeah, I do agree with that as well there. A few people are happy. Lazaro's back into the side for North.
Yeah, that would make
he's back in.
Happy. I thought he was a bit unlucky to be dropped. I thought he actually played quite well in that game.
Yeah, I don't actually think he got dropped. I heard that he missed training last week on the Thursday for a bit of a quad issue. And I think came up as omitted, but I don't know why it came up as omitted for, because that's what people were reporting last week. But I guess maybe they half dropped him and half he got injured, so it was a good excuse. But he's back in the team this week. So, but we did have a quick comment before. I'm just trying to pull it up here. Tarios 94. Hi guys, thoughts on Fisher being pushed forward now that Stevenson is out? McKercher will move back again. So let me have a quick look at North's team here. So I can't imagine it's going to happen. He's played in defence the whole pre-season. He's named in a forward pocket. They do have Sellers, Drury, Lazar. No, he's not going to play forward. They've got pretty much the whole bench can play forward. Like Greenwood's in the midfield, but Ward will play there, which means Greenwood will play forward. Sellers is a forward, Drury's a forward, Lazaro plays forward. So, yeah, I wouldn't be too worried about Zach Fisher there, Nectarios. I think he'll be playing midfield, which is where he's played the whole season so far. What do we got here? Keep sending your questions through, guys. We'll go for about another 15 or 20 minutes or so. Assuming, Tim, you heading down to the camp?
Yeah, I am, mate. So, yeah, I'll need to bail soon.
Yeah, cool. Now, if you guys are in Perth, head down to the campfield and join everyone. It's I can speak firsthand. It's always a great night of just get down, get a burger, get schnitzel or whatever you're into with food, and sit down and chat fantasy and watch the game of footy, and hopefully watch Bont dominate and Nick Martin as well. Reese FM. Oliver sent for surgery. Salem out for 6 weeks. Yeah, I did see that just before we went live. Yeah, Oliver, apparently they're hopeful he's back before the Anzac Day Eve game. But I'll tell you what, he's going to be cheap as chips in a few weeks, Tim. He dropped another, what did he get, 50 last night or something like that? Yeah, his break-even was 100 points more than, he'll be 800K. That's going to be crazy. But we're going to have to see something first. We haven't seen anything since that first week. More questions here. A lot of them are the same sort of questions. Just ask you about the Close or Graham and all that. Here we go. It's a good one. Dale Travers, Massimo or Williams? Who goes first going up to Flanders? Who are you trading out of those two?
I think Muss. Let me have a look at break-evens and stuff like that. I mean, Muss is more expensive. His break-even's higher.
Williams. Yeah, I was originally Williams because we haven't seen any of those bigger scores.
I think he's just going to get better. The more he plays, the better he's going to get, I feel.
Yeah, that's what I feel. Is when I think that we've seen that Massimo had those 2 games in the first couple of weeks were good, but he did have a lot of marks when the Hawks were doing those chip around games or whatever. So I'm a bit more nervous about also, him moving
with that
forward.
Hawk side as well. Like Sammy Mitchell hasn't really kind of put it together yet. There's a lot changing. There's a lot of movement, and I think that's part of what's happened with D'Ambrosio as well. He's kind of lost that role he kind of initially had. I'm a bit certain about what's happening in that Hawk side as well.
Yeah. Subs have come in for tonight, so it is Bailey Dale, bit of interesting, and Nick Hine, bloody Bevo. Like, I know we don't have Bailey Dale, but it's just showing that you've got to think
I don't know. You've got to think at some point, like people start going like, what do I say? I'm saying that people are going to start questioning what he's doing, and then people have been doing that for a fucking long time. But I mean, people with opinions that actually matter, are actually going to start like, what the fuck is this guy doing? Like, you've got some serious talent that's just seems to be underutilized.
Well, yeah, like Caleb Daniels being dropped completely out of the side, not even in the team, like along with like a Rory Lobb who they traded for, or whatever. So hopefully Caleb Daniel being a South Australian, I wouldn't mind if someone like him made the way over to Adelaide next year, and then Rory Lobb.
Jeez, that'll really change the pace of that midfield.
I wouldn't be playing midfield. I'd be playing off half. I'd be playing off half back because the Crows need a bit of creativity back there,
point.
Which is why that. I wouldn't be shocked if they did make that move with Laird back. He's an All-Australian half back, so we have seen him do it before. And I'm not a fan of Will Hamill. So
I just got a picture of a midfield containing Rory Laird, Matt Crouch, Caleb Daniel.
Let's not. I can't deal with that. What do we? Dale Travers said Rivers got a CBA bump last night with Salem out. Possible option? I don't think so, Dale. I think that we saw that Oliver played at half back, which I think was just more to protect his hands. So I think he's going to be back and he'll be in the midfield. I don't see Rivers being a guy that's going to get a lot of CBAs, but I guess something to keep an eye on there. Miss Trickles down said, I'll answer this one for you because I know Tim loves these questions with multiple options. Ms. Trickles down is the one there. So there's multiple options here, Tim. So bear with me, mate. I know you love these questions. So and make sure you get your marker as well and put it all up on the whiteboard. Option 1, Howes and Closey. This is even difficult for me because they're asking what they're going to do trades this week next week. So I'll answer your question post this. This is just it'd take too long to have to really sort of dial it down into the pod. So, but apologies, these trickles down. I'll answer that for you post the pod there.
You'll handle that for her privately.
Yes. Yep. I'll answer that for her after the podcast. Recon Top DT, really hard week to trade. I can go sideways. Trade Grundy to Marshall and Heaney to Martin. I've got Dacos, Heaney, Grundy, Jordan, and Roberts out. Otherwise, I can trade Roberts to Graham, got Closey last week, and upgrade Jordan to Nick Martin or Flanders. Means I've got 3 premiums out. I'd definitely be going the second option there at Recon Top. I think you probably don't want to be trading and doing sideways and doing Heaney to Nick Martin. I know Martin's good, but Heaney's going to be a top couple of forwards. So I don't like trading Roberts, though. So if you can do something else, another rookie down to Graham to go Jordan up. But I guess if you have to do that, then that could be a play. What are your thoughts on trading a Roberts out, Tim? If that's the one way it gets you the upgrade.
I mean, what's your defensive line going to look like after round 6? That's one of the things I would be thinking about. Let me have a look. What's his break even? 30. Yeah, look, it's probably a little early, but I think, if you're getting off him up to a primo, I think it's worth doing.
Yeah, I think you can do it. I would definitely prefer to find another way to find another trade and keep Roberts. But if that is the way that you get your upgrade, I guess you can do that. Nozza said, if you've got to field one out of Closey and Zach Williams, who are you going? You still backing in Zach Williams?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, this is one of those ones where it's kind of hit and hope. I mean, I tend to feel like I've got to trust he's a one-game rookie. I don't know. Far out. I don't know. I really don't know. What do you think, Bales?
Well, I've got this exact conundrum, and I'm going Zach Williams. So
Zach Williams is who's on my ground. I haven't. Sam Clay's sitting at he's 8 or whatever it is for me, but it's. I think it's a toss of a coin. Who knows?
Yeah,
and it's not a bad week to do it with the best 18 as well, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I guess I'm just backing Williams because I think he's due
what about,
a bigger
what about
score.
This? What about a Clohesi over a D'Ambrosio?
That's a closer call. I don't know if it's just the pricing. I'm still backing in Massimo, but I don't know if that's just I shouldn't be doing that because he's more expensive. He's not looked great the last couple of weeks with those lower scores. I do think that they're a bit of
shame that
circumstance in a way.
This is the exact moment you talk to Jepper.
Yeah,
Exactly. What do you think? Just let us know.
Fry.
Oh, yeah, let's ask Fry.
So Fry, if you want to, Fry, mate, if you want to jump on for a chat and chat through closely, mate, and even a Graham just before we end the Twitter space, mate, then feel free. I think that Massimo's 2 lower scores. I know he's had lower scores, but I think the first one against Geelong was really wet and was definitely not suited for his scoring. Then I think last week he just got stuck on the bench and stuck on the wrong wing, and all he needs is a game where he's on the right wing and getting all the ball, then obviously he's going to put a good score up. So I think I'd still be backing in Massimo because I think he's got a more frequent he can hit his ceiling more than what a Closey will, and especially best 18, you want those bigger scores. So that's probably where I'm backing him in, but it is a tight call. So
let's ask Fry.
Is he jumped on? I don't know if it jumped on. I can't. It says listen on my phone at the moment.
He jumped to the top of the list. I thought that was him.
That's what I thought. He jumped to top list for me as well. So I'll invite him to speak and see if he's jumping on. We'll just answer this one though from Josh Rognetta. Lads, I'm trading at Jaden Short. Should I take the value of Nasai, Wanganeen, Miller, or go all the way up to Sheasel? So where are you going?
I
there,
like
Tim?
the value of Nazaya, Wanganeen, and Malira,
or better known as. Yeah,
or the Wang. The Wang. I quite like that actually. I quite like that nickname. Shout out to Luke.
Yeah, it's a good one. I think the size, the play with the value, whatever. So here we go. So it says Fry wants to speak. So we'll get him on. If it works, just as connecting. I know we have had a few little technical issues today. No, he's on. Fry, mate, how are you?
You got me, boys?
Yep, got you, mate.
Perfect.
How are you?
Yeah, good. I think Closey had that ripper score last week, and that's why a lot of coaches are obviously considering putting him on field. And it's genuinely a really tough call. I was listening to you boys obviously debate it, and I think you're back in the likes of Williams.
You've got to be careful using terms like that on this.
Yeah, true. Very true. I think you go for it and pick them over the rookie. But in saying that, Hawthorn gives a lot up at the moment, so it's a real line ball decision.
Well, there you go.
Yeah. If I had conviction, though, I would say I'd back Williams in over D'Ambrosio, and then the D'Ambrosio Closey decision, just flip a coin and then let fate decide for you.
There you go.
But, mate, what are you looking to do in your moves this week if you want to share for all the listeners?
Gone very vanilla like most coaches. Jordan to Flanders, and then Blake Howes out last night to Closey to cover for Nick Dacos on buy. I gave serious consideration to flicking Dacos to Sheasel because I've got a bit of a worn chest, but I think Closey's just undeniable cash gen that he's got on offer makes him, obviously there's about 28% of coaches in the whole competition that are bringing him in this week. So for good reason, I think, I'm going down the vanilla route.
Yeah. With some of the rookie options this week, Fry, so obviously we got Closey we spoke, but we also got Will Graham's there. Kane McAuliffe is going to get a crack at hopefully a full game and not as the sub. What are your thoughts on some of those guys and maybe a couple other maybe rookies floating around?
Yeah, I went Will Graham over Closey last week because I thought that midfield role would be conducive to a lot of points. He did look pretty knackered by the time he got to the end of the game, but I think that Graham's still a cash cow that a lot of coaches should have in their team. So if you had a crystal ball and went Closey last week, there's nothing wrong with grabbing Graham this week. And like you said, McAuliffe has a lot of upside with Taranto's latest injury setback. There was another one of their midfielders that went down as well, Jack Ross. So hopefully he can, the bye next week doesn't really mean a huge deal. Hopefully everyone's got 22 green dots this week. But if you've got, I don't know, someone like Jai Clark in your midfield, you could maybe field McAuliffe over him. So, yeah, I think those three are the most popular rooks this week, and there's not a ton outside of that I love. A lot of the mainstream cash cows we've already got, and they're nearing top price. So, yeah, I think the two Gold Coast boys and then McAuliffe for the top three options this week.
Is it too late for Gallagher, who's up at, what is he up at now, 390?
Yeah, I think so. He had that 90 against West Coast, but he's had 350s other than that. So I back him in to get closer to 60 points tonight against the Dons. But, I wouldn't be touching him if if you're looking to go for another cheaper option. Like I said, those other three, hopefully, if you need a forward cash cow, Kai Lohman was probably the best on offer, but obviously already played. So,
well, what about this? The second most traded in player this week is Charlie Conlon.
Yeah, and I've yo-yoed quite a bit on my opinion on Conlon, but I think he'll end up playing a bit of a key back. He was actually on the Dylan Friends podcast the other day, and he was saying he was quite surprised when he went off the ground and saw that he had 25 touches next to his name. And, you got Tomahawk there, they got Jeremy Cameron. I imagine him trying to play a lockdown role on one of those guys. So I'm honestly expecting another 50 or 60 from him. But in saying that, these best of 18 rounds mean that you can kind of hide behind bringing in someone like Condon. So if you desperately need cash, he's probably, the one under the 400K mark for a forward. But, yeah, just don't go expecting great returns.
Yeah, no, it's a good shout there. And I guess the good thing with McAuliffe is they got the bye next week. So if he has a good score this week, he's going to be a bit like Harvey Thomas, hopefully better than Harvey Thomas. Will be a downgrade option in round 7. So, but yeah, actually just quickly, what do you think on Harvey Thomas? Obviously, held his spot this week. Do you think he can put up some better scores for us, or what are your thoughts there moving forward?
I hope so. I really rated him with the stuff I saw in the preseason, but playing that small forward role, he's not, like you guys were talking about before, he's not an accumulator type, and they're the guys we want in our team. So you don't have to obviously flick him out. He's probably still got a bit of cash to make, but going for him this week doesn't feel like a great manoeuvre. St Kilda coming up, and then I'm not too sure about the rest of GWS's fixtures, but yeah, that role isn't great for fantasy scoring.
Yeah, I agree as well. Final question for you, mate, then we'll wrap everything up. Captain and Vice Captain, who are you going with this week?
Because I don't like good things, I did not have the VC badge on Max Gawn last night. So
do you have Max Gawn?
Yeah, I do, luckily. Yeah,
oh!
Yep, I decided, I actually got stuck at a boozy brunch and got a little bit too cute, and then checked my phone at about 5:45 and was like, oh, you drop kick. So I'll be VCing Nick Martin tonight, hoping that he goes off under the roof. And I'm giving some thought to, because my rank's pretty shot, just rolling the dice and going like a Sam Flanders captain or something really left field. But hopefully Nick Martin scores 120 and I won't have to worry about making another stuff up.
Yeah, hopefully you can go big tonight. But we'll wrap it up there. But Fry, mate, thanks for jumping on just with that last little bit there to help us with a few of those dilemmas there. Where can the people just find you and the podcast?
Yep, Sports by Fry, all one word, FRY. I do churned out a Patreon since fantasy started, so I do the rookie roulette every Friday arvo once the teams are finalised. I think there's a lot of coaches this week who are trying to be determined whether to put a Gallagher or a Wilson or Harley Reid or someone like that on your field. So you can check that out on the Patreon page at Fantasy Sports by Fry. But yeah, I'm sure a lot of other coaches will know where to find my stuff.
Yeah, cool. Beautiful. Thanks for jumping on, mate. And everyone knows where you can find me and Tim on the socials. But Tim, just another late one. If anyone wanted to head down to the Campfield tonight, what's going on there?
We have fantasy catch-ups there pretty much every Friday night. We just head down and normally there's a jug of beer for whoever got the highest score from the last week. I think that's how it works. Can't remember. Check out AFL Fantasy Perth on X for more details. But yeah, it's generally just let's go down there, eat some good food, watch some footy, and chat with some other legends about fantasy.
Yep. No, make sure if you're in Perth, head down. Me and Tim will be back on Sunday night at 8:30 Eastern. We've got number one coach from last year, Darren Carr. Wise Ocean Pods is jumping on with us along with Jake from Hat Chat. Be a very, very good chat with us for hopefully recapping a very good round. Good luck, everyone, this week. I'll see everyone tomorrow for the watch along on YouTube if anyone wants to tune in to that as well. But if not, we'll catch you on Sunday. Have a good weekend, guys.
See you, legends.
Good luck, boys.